Good evening, Umass, and welcome into the first edition of Umass Sports Weekly for the 2017-2018 school year. I'm your host, Xander Manning, and I'll be helping you through navigating the stormy seas that are Umass sports. We here at Umass Sports Weekly know that it's already October, but we had to sort out some logistical things before starting the show. But we're here, finally, I know, giving you the latest in Umass sports. We've got a great new cast this season after some members graduated and others just, moved on. I'm back after a year-long hiatus from the days when I covered football, but I'm back to host the show, and we're hoping to bring back some familiar faces. But of course, we can't make any promises. We do have one returner, and you'll see who that is soon enough. On tap tonight, we have John Ho, our returner, with some football coverage. Did UMass squeak out a win against a familiar face in Ohio University this weekend? After John, we'll be bringing in our first new face of the season, Tim Sirota, with some UMass hockey coverage. The Minutemen faced off against Division III opponent Queen's University on Saturday, and I'll be talking to him about how they fared. After Tim, we have Justin McCagnon with some coverage of the men's soccer team. Finally, we'll finish off the show with Ryan Beaton, and he and I will talk about the Umass Softball team that's been playing a few fall games just to kick off some rust they might have. We've got a great show on tap for you tonight, and it's coming right up. This is UMass Sports Weekly. Back here. The UMass football team fell to Ohio University over the weekend on Saturday, 58-50. Their record now stands at 0-6, and they're one loss away from being out of bowl contention this season. I'm here with John Ho, and we're here to talk some UMass football. Jay Ho, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
All right, good to hear. So what are some positives that you can take away from this game this weekend?
So I would say the biggest positive is the fact that they were competitive against a 1-4 team. And also what I'll say is this week was the opposite of last week's game against Tennessee. The offense definitely showed up this week. On offense, Andrew Ford went 32 of 54 with 390 yards and threw 5 touchdowns and had a QBR of 45.6 out of 100. And the offensive line also showed up too. He only got sacked twice compared to getting sacked 7 times last week against Tennessee. And Adam Brenneman was Andrew Ford's biggest target with 12 receptions for 131 yards and 2 touchdown receptions. And running back Marquise Young had a game high in 291 all-purpose yards with a 129 kick return and 56 yards rushing and 34 yards receiving. And in total, the offense had 550 yards and 30 first downs, which was more than Ohio.
That's pretty good. I mean, definitely better after that upset in Tennessee, that's for sure.
Yep.
So what led to Ohio beating UMass?
So remember when I said this was the opposite of last week? Well, that also applies to the other side of the ball too.
All right.
They let running back AJ Olette rush for 125 yards and quarterback Nathan Roque for 113 yards. And even though Nathan Roque only threw for 181 yards and went 13 for 24, he had a QBR of 93.1 out of 100 and threw 2 touchdowns and ran for 2 touchdowns. And Brendan Cope also caught 7 balls for 126 yards. And the defense only sacked him twice.
I mean, that's not too many, but still, it's not a bad game for the defense, you have to say.
Yeah, and while the offense played well, they made some crucial mistakes that cost them the game. Like losing the turnover battle, UMass had 2 turnovers, and Ohio had a goose egg of 0.
Oof.
And Andy Isabella lost a fumble, and Andrew Ford threw a pick to Chad Moore. And also the most telling stat on offense is UMass went 2 for 18 on 3rd down, which is 28%, and Ohio went 5 of 10 on 3rd down, which you can guess what percent that is.
That's not very much.
Yeah, and 21 of UMass's points were in the 4th quarter, where in garbage time, where the game was out of reach when it was 28-29 Ohio. And also, this also could be a result of a bunch of injuries on defense. Cornerback Lee Moses didn't start the game, and sophomore corner Isaiah Rogers, one of UMass's best defensive players, got hurt in the first half and didn't return. And cornerback Bahari Goodson and defensive tackle Shaki also left the game. And luckily, Ford, who didn't finish the game last week, looks solid.
Of course, speaking of the offense and all that, got an extended bye week coming up with the game against USF being canceled and due to Hurricane Irma. Of course, our thoughts go out to all those affected by Hurricane Irma. Probably would have been the best team that UMass faces. You think the extended bye week's going to affect the Minutemen at all?
I think they'll be fine. Like you said, the Bulldogs would have been by far the best team that they would have faced. They are ranked 18th in the country and are undefeated. And instead, they will be playing FIU on December 2nd instead of that game. And FIU on paper would be probably the worst team that UMass will face this year. And UMass has played very well against FIU the past 2 years. And so so in 2 weeks, we will see UMass again, and then they'll be playing the Georgia Southern Eagles on October 21st. And what we can expect out of the next game is actually the UMass homecoming game, is that the Georgia Southern Eagles are 0-3 and recently lost 52-17 to Indiana. Ooh. So they average 12 points per game and allow an average of 38.33 points from the opponent. So I think UMass has a decent chance to beat them, and hopefully they can get their first win of the season this year.
All right, I gotta ask you, J-Ho, what's your score prediction for that game?
Holy, I mean, I don't really know what to expect because against Tennessee they didn't score a lot, but this week they did. So I'm gonna guess. I'll guess a UMass victory. Let's say 34-17.
34-17. You heard it here first, folks. Thanks for joining us, J-Ho. We'll be right back with
my pleasure.
Tim Sirota talking some UMass hockey right after this. UMass hockey opened up their 2017-2018 campaign with a 1-0 victory over Queens University on Saturday night at the Mullen Center in an exhibition contest. While the win is nice, it doesn't really count towards their overall record. The Minutemen get things started officially this weekend in Tempe, Arizona, with 2 games against Arizona State, a team they traded a win and a loss with last season. Games are on Friday and Saturday nights. They'll be at 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time, so good luck watching them. With that, we bring in our own Tim Sirota. Tim, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. How you doing?
Welcome to the show. Your first show tonight. How's it feel?
Feels great. Excited for a good year of good content.
All right.
Good content.
All right. So, Tim, Minutemen picked up a 1-0 exhibition win against Queens. What are your takeaways from this game?
My takeaway is that this team's still struggling for offense. You get a goal from Nico Rufo early in the first period on the power play, then you don't score for the rest of the game. Mind you, this is a team that only scored, that averaged 1.91 goals against last year. And yeah, it is not the same team. There's new faces all over the place, but you got to be able to put the puck in the net. And when you can't sustain offense, you let a team like Queens University, who's Division III, you let them stay in the game. Then you have to get bailed out by your goalies, and that's exactly what happened. So it was a toss-up game because the UMass could not sustain that offensive pressure that they much needed and lacked last year.
I mean, you got to admit the goalies played pretty well.
They were outstanding and they saved them, but you shouldn't be needing to rely on your goalies in an exhibition match against a Division III opponent when this is the only D3 team you're going to play all year.
Of course.
And when you're playing in Hockey East, I don't think you're going to be bailed out like that.
I don't think so either, but we'll have to see what happens. Of course, big question on everybody's mind. Over the offseason, UMass recruited Cale Makar, who's number 4 draft pick by the Colorado Avalanche. He made his debut over the weekend. How did he look for you when the maroon and white?
Really excited for Cale Makar. He's a guy that's, he can skate, he can pass, and that he can score. So he's going to be a great guy for your power play, and he is going to improve the goal scoring. But what you're going to want to see is if he can play in his own end. Because a lot of those defensemen that get drafted really, really high, they get drafted for their offensive skill. and then they become elite defensemen in the NHL when they're able to play in their own end, and they're physical, and they're gritty, and they check guys off the puck, and they play it in the corner. Now, I'm looking to see if Cale Makar can do that here at UMass, because that's where it's going to start. Of course, you can't compare collegiate hockey to the NHL, but he's got to be in the corners, and he's got to start now, because I'm willing to bet this is his only year in UMass.
I'd take you up on that bet, that's for sure. Of course, after Brandon Montour only spent, half a season here.
Sure, and Colorado desperately is looking for Makar to make an impact for their club.
Oh, that's for sure. So other than Cale, what other freshmen are you looking at to have a big impact on this team this year?
Well, we agreed upon earlier that they need more goal scoring, and there's a lot of forwards that are freshmen. The guy I'm looking at is John Leonard. He's 5'11", he's from UMass. His dad was a basketball coach here, so he's got Amherst in his blood.
Mm-hmm.
Hope that can translate onto the ice for him. He was a ESPN Boston Mr. Hockey Award winner. And really, their forwards, who knows? Who knows who's going to play? They were playing two freshmen at their top centers. One of them was Leonard. So they're going to be playing some big-time minutes, and they're going to be expected to make some goals. So I think a guy like Leonard is going to step up. Another is Mario Ferraro, another defenseman like Makar, who was a high draft pick for UMass, one of the highest in their program's history. Mm-hmm. And he's another guy that's more of an offensive defenseman. Maybe he'll get it on the rush, get some goals, really affect that power play.
Sounds like a great strategy to me. What about Rufo?
Rufo?
He's transferred from Providence College. How do you think he's going to play into this team?
He was the guy that put the puck in the net last time, so I hope that he's a good solid player. They know that you don't really know who's going to play what role on this team so far. So if Rufo's a guy that can put the puck in the net, he's going to get his opportunities, no doubt about it.
Definitely. Last question for you, Tim. Team only won 5 games last year. Really unfortunate. What are the realistic expectations for the team this year?
Well, this will sound like a cliche, but really, just get better. I mean, they won 5 games last year. You can't expect them to win Hockey East, to even make an NCAA tournament appearance. But with that being said, Hockey East has so much parity. So you look at a team like Northeastern, who ended up winning the Hockey East tournament last year. They were dreadful in their non-conference schedule, but they got hot at the right time, and they were able to beat a lot of teams and make a run in that tournament and win and get in the NCAA tournament. So could UMass do that? I'm not so sure. We'll wait and see. But if you're a fan, it's time to get excited, because really, anything can happen. That's what's so exciting about Hockey East and college hockey in general.
You think the fans will be happy if they win 6 this year?
I don't know. I hope so. I hope they win some Hockey East games, because they didn't really do that. They didn't really do that too much.
Not too much last year. Thanks for taking the time, Tim.
No
Talk
problem.
some hockey.
See you next week.
I'll see you next week. Right. After this, we have Justin McCagnon. We'll be talking some men's soccer. We'll be right back. And we're back. Over the weekend, the men's soccer went on a little road trip and picked up a good win by defeating St. Louis on the road 3-0. Tonight they're taking on UVM, a game we'll definitely keep tabs on and keep you updated as we go. Right now we're joined by another new face, Justin McCagnon. Justin, how you doing? How's it feel to be on the show?
It's really great. The perfect thing about this year is that in a year where fall sports has been somewhat of a dim light for UMass, the men's soccer team really has blown up in the standards for everyone, because last year they were 5-13, and it was a rough year for them. But this year, going 6-2-2, that's pretty good if you ask me.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I mean, definitely a pick-me-up for the team.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Morale around sports. But specifically, tell me about their last game. Obviously, they won 3-0. It was a good win at St. Louis. What was the difference maker this weekend?
I reiterate this everywhere. An offense is only good as its defense, and the defense in that game was highly deadly, because they shut them down for the entire game, obviously. But there were only 3 shots on goal, and it was a perfect game for them, because it's a division rival, and coming into these next 2 weeks, they got a division rival game basically every game, and this is a key aspect for them when it comes in, because going 1-0 in your division sets everything up and sets a positive mood for the entire team.
That's good offense is a good defense, am I right?
Exactly, yeah.
So what's the team's greatest strength off the field?
So the greatest strength this team has is its coaching staff. Mr. Fran O'Leary and assistant coach Mike Madraco are a key aspect for this team, because they are proven winners. Madraco had a very successful campaign at Stony Brook, Oneonta State, and UConn, as well as Mr. O'Leary, who had a massive successful career at Toronto MLS, as well as Dartmouth, and many other victories. And they all combine actually for 300 victories and just over 200 losses, which is a key aspect for them because, 300 wins over a career of barely 20 years, that's a key that's a key aspect because you want proven winners for this team because this team has struggled over the past couple of years, and you know what, this coaching staff has definitely settled them up for a key future.
So what's their biggest strength on the field? You talked about it earlier, it was the defense, but does that really capture the whole picture of this team?
Personally, I think there's a very high aspect. They have a lot of very good juniors, and that's why I think that the key aspect for them is their juniors in the future because they have a lot of very tall juniors. For instance, Connor Odor, he is a very talented player for them, and he's been doing a lot for them over the past couple of years. And when it comes to the future for this team, they look very bright. It's just they have a very talented team. They have a very good chemistry, actually, for the most part. And Mr. O'Leary, he coaches, it's a work in progress. So for them, the first year or two may be rough, and it may be a hard road for everyone, but in the third or fourth year, the chemistry is built, and it sets everyone up for a great future.
Sounds like a real fun team to watch.
Absolutely.
So what's your predictions for the next few games?
Now, the big thing here is that they have division rivals for the next 2 weeks. This is a hard set of 2 weeks for them because, division rival games, no matter how good or bad the team is, it's always a tough road for them. And the key thing here is just having the defense show up every game. If the defense shows up every game and they can keep these wins going where they're winning 2-1, 3-0, 1-0, this is going to be a very successful campaign for them. And what's going to end up happening is that in these next 8 games that they have, which are all division rivals almost, except one, they will end up having a very successful campaign at the end of it, and we're going to be very happy with what their results show.
So obviously tonight they're playing UVM.
UVM, out of division, is a key game for them because, they're setting up for, obviously, as I said, the next 2 weeks. And the key thing with them is if they win this game, they'll be 7-2-2. They'll be going into a nice hard road stretch against the division rivals. And in the end, it could be very beneficial for them.
All right. Thank you, Justin, for taking the time. Up next is our final segment of the night. I'll be talking with Ryan Beaton, and we'll be talking about some Umass Softball. Sorry we have to go so soon, but that's just the way it goes. We'll be right back with some Umass Softball.
And when we wake, we be the only sound. Get on my knees and say a prayer, change round. That can make your hands clap. That can make your hands clap. That can make your hands clap.
It's college softball, an exhibition between the UAlbany Great Danes and the Umass Minutemen. Umass, looking to improve their 29-24 overall record from last season, bottom first. Umass gets a base runner from a walk. Next play, runner goes, ball's in the dirt, runner's safe. Runner on second, number 2, Hannah Bunker gets a hit. Very next play, Umass drops down a sack bunt, advances the runners. Now up to bat, Jenna Koza gets a hit, and that'll go down as an RBI single. Umass scores first. Later on in the game, freshman Kiera Oliver comes in to pitch for UMass. Ball's hit all the way out to left field, hitting the 190 marker, and this will count as a double for Albany. Later on in that inning, Albany, a bloop to center field, that's going to go down as a hit. Runners on the corners, Oliver delivers. Catchers throw to second, and in the process, Albany's going to steal home. That'll even up the score 1 apiece. We can now go to the bottom of the 4th. UMass up to bat. Number 24, Melissa Garcia is going to draw a walk. Very next play, Jackie Kelly going to do the same. Runners on first and second. Michaela Strominger hits one deep. Back to the wall. Huge play for UMass as they score 2 runs and go up ahead 3-1. Bottom of the 6th action, Melissa Garcia lines out to first, and then Albany gets a double play. Great play, but the umpire calls it safe. After further deliberation, they decide it is in fact a double play, innings over. Top 8, Albany up at bat. Gets a hit and makes a hustle play, beating out the throw. Next at bat, runner goes, the throw from the catcher, and she's going to get under the tag. She's safe. Again, Albany takes off, only this time for third. The throw from the catcher is poor, and Albany's going to come around to score. Now 3-2 UMass. Moving on to the 9th inning, Albany pitching. Strominger hits it back to the pitcher, and a routine out. After 9, UMass outscores Albany 3-2. The game went on until the 14th inning as part of a continuous doubleheader.
And we're back. The real softball season isn't for another 4 months, but that hasn't stopped the Minutewomen. They've been playing a few games here and there, but also practicing as if they would during the regular season. I'm here with our final new face of the night, Ryan Beaton. Ryan, how you doing? How's it feel to be on the show?
Good, Xander. How are you? It feels great to be on the show.
All right, Ryan, we'll get right into it. This team lost the A10 tournament last year in an extra innings walk-off last season. A frustrating loss. How do they move on from that coming into this season?
Well, first off, it's very important to remember that they have some key players returning to the team. Senior Meg Colleran earned a National Fast Pitch Coaches Association All-Regional First Team selection.
Oh.
And not only that, but she's a 2-time First Team All-Atlantic honoree and was named the 2017 A10 Championship Most Outstanding Player, despite losing that championship game to Fordham University.
That's not often you find that.
No.
It's incredible.
Yeah, she's a hell of a player. If they can stay focused, I expect them to have another strong year. And although it's very early, expect this team to make another deep run into the A10 tournament this spring.
Almost seems like every year that they make it to the A10s.
Yeah.
Maybe, sometimes, some years they make it further, but who knows? What big moves do they make in the offseason, if any, of course?
Honestly, I think the biggest move they made was adding to the coaching staff. They head coach Christy Stefanani brought on Ronnie Gajanowski to be an assistant coach, and she was part of Team USA at the 2015 Pan Am Games, which is really impressive. She was previously serving as a graduate assistant at Liberty University, and Liberty's like one of those softball programs that's highly regarded for their programs, and the coaching staff behind it, really impressive. So it would be interesting to see if Gajanowski can bring that knowledge here to UMass.
Definitely a big ad there.
100%.
After losing Victoria Hayward in the offseason. What else do you know about her? What else is there?
Yeah, I think she'll be really valuable to the young players on mentoring this team. It's a young team, and she's young, and I think that you'll find that she's gone through a lot of the same situations that these players are going through now, and it'll be very relatable for them.
All right, thanks, Ryan, for taking the time.
Thank you, Xander.
Well, that's going to do it for us here at UMass Sports Weekly. We'll be back next week for the second show of the new school year. Hope you'll join us for that. Show will start at the same time as tonight, 6:30, right on the dot. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, Google Drive if you're friends with us. Follow us individually on Twitter as well, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on all things UMass Sports Weekly, all things UMass Sports in general. I want to give a huge thank you to Amanda Welch, our producer, who's in the other room. Thank you. From all of us here at UMass Sports Weekly, I like to say call up Greenfields, because that's a wrap. That'll do it for us here. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Xander Manning, saying sayonara from UVC TV 19 in the Student Union. Have a great week, UMass.